Welcome to the Shades of Grey podcast with Dr. John Gray, New York Times bestselling author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And now, Dr. John Gray.
Hey everybody, we're going to be talking about motivating men and motivating women. We'll start with motivating men today, and welcome, and be sure to share this with all your friends. Let them know that this is a great topic. One of the big issues in relationships is always women will complain, he lost his motivation. What happened? And unfortunately, this is inevitable. Men will lose their motivation. It's what happens in relationships. It's particularly men. And what women, they have less motivation after their resentment builds up. So women will build up first resistance to what a man is, what she doesn't like about him, what's going on, and so forth. And we're going to talk about the 4 R's today as well. They're resistance, resentment, rejection, and repression. And women will tend to lose their motivation when the relationship gets really bad. It's like she'll start to not like things, then she'll start to overgive, she'll give more, and then she'll start to resent him. And then she'll hold back and she'll reject him. Whatever he wants, she doesn't want. She's no longer as generous with her love. She's inflexible. She'll have more complaints. She'll try to change him. These are all expressions of rejection for women. So there's resistance and it builds up. You don't share your feelings. Then it turns into resentment because you start overgiving in the relationship, thinking that if only I could give more, I would get more, which doesn't happen with men. And we'll learn that today. And then that will naturally move into a stage of rejection. And rejection is, you just say, well, then I'm not going to give so much. I give up. I'm not going to, be as generous with my love. And the way that shows up is often with the 7 or 8 C's. She'll start to have complaints to justify not giving. Because women, they feel they should always be giving. That's the loving thing. And so if they're not going to give, they have to justify it. And so to justify it, they have to have complaints. To justify those complaints, they have to have criticism. To justify their resentment that they had, they'll compare. I'm giving more, he's giving less. They'll catastrophize. They have to make problems much bigger in order to justify being so withholding of love. Because women want to love. It's who their nature is. But the problem is these phenomena happen inside of her brain is that when stress builds up and she's producing chronic cortisol, then what will happen is that she will tend to go into rejection. And at that stage, most couples will kind of end. But if it doesn't end, you try to be nice. You think I'm going to save the relationship. I'll continue giving even when I feel resentful that, I even though I don't want to give. Okay. Well, literally you just lose interest in motivation to love your partner, to accommodate your partner's needs, to be there for them. Then it goes into the 4th R, which is repression. She just starts becoming numb. That's where the attraction goes away. And many couples will just stay in that more numb state, but they're good friends. They keep pushing things down. And a lot of that happened in previous generations with people. They weren't as conscious as we are today of our feelings. You can see, I listened to a girl going through puberty 50 years ago. Every word she said wasn't like, I feel like. We're in the feeling world now. And it presents a lot of new challenges, but also produces a lot of great benefits. Okay, there's tremendous benefits of learning how to process your feelings. Because if you go through the 4 R's where in the beginning you kind of just didn't like things, and then you start to resent things, and then you start to reject your partner, you start being critical, complaining, and so forth, then what happens is you repress your feelings and the attraction goes away. And people today want attraction. We want passion. We see it in them. We see it everywhere. Social media makes it look like everybody's happy. And they're not all happy. When you're the therapist, you understand there's people with anxiety, they have depression, they have nothing going on in the bedroom. And yet when they're out in public, they look so good. Everything's so wonderful. And we're masters of rationalization, okay, of making things okay. And are looking good. But really what's going on is a lot of pain and a lot of unhappiness, a lot of sadness, a lot of sorrow. And so what we can do is avoid all of that by becoming aware of this tendency to go through the 4 R's, where you tend to, over time, lose your motivation to love if you're a woman. to want to give more without resentment, but to choose to give. Now we're gonna focus that. But why do women go through the 4 R's? A big part of it is they don't understand men. And if we can understand men, then relationships can be better, and men can understand themselves as well. As most of you know, that my book is just about to come out, which is called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, for women only. And it's Learn to Be Happy With or Without a Man. Because when you can be happy without a man, it's much easier for a man to stay motivated and continue to give you the things that will make you happier. When you're in a place of being happier from a man, not depending him solely on your happiness, but being happy, having friends, loving yourself, doing good things for yourself, learning new things, having a job, working, whether it be as a mother, whether it be in the world. There's a lot of other places in our life where we can be happy and fulfilled. Then with that happiness and fulfillment, bring a man into your life and he can make you happier. So let's come back to the basic source of so much of the frustration in relationships is motivation. Men will lose their motivation. It's inevitable. It happens. Men will, in the beginning of a relationship where there's newness and there's challenge and there's sexuality involved where he's attracted to you physically, some magical chemistry is going on. So when he's feeling that attraction, he's producing huge amounts of dopamine in his brain. It's like the new and different, the possibility of success, the possibility of the success in having sex even. All of those aspects come together and they produce the brain chemical of dopamine. Dopamine is the motivating brain chemical. And yeah, I love my partner, but that doesn't mean I'm going to feel motivated to do things for her. I'm motivated to make money. I have to support my family. Every man has that feeling. When you marry a woman, what happens is you're inside of her. You planted yourself inside of her through sex. And there's something that just inevitably happens when a part of you goes into her. Now your selfishness, which is the immature male, is primarily selfish. They just think about themselves. How can I be more successful? How can I get more attention? How can I have higher status? How can I achieve more? How can I learn more? How can I make better grades? How can I make more money? It's about achieving my goals for me. But once you start having sex with a woman you love, you're inside of her. Your essence goes inside of her. And this is the first stage of selfless motivation. It's fantastic. And this is there's a hormone that goes along with selflessness. Ultimately, I heard this simple phrase on Joe Rogan's show, and it didn't seem that significant to me, but then he thought it was significant. So I thought about it and I realized it's profound. And somebody had told him that the more you think about yourself, the more unhappy you are. That's it. You can't be unhappy if you're not thinking about yourself. So what happens as we mature is that, we can think about ourselves, and certainly if somebody's giving us what we want, we're going to be happy. But it's a very conditional happiness, and you go up, you'll go down, you go in, you'll go out. There's a lot of instability in that, which eventually, as you grow older and more mature, you're designed to not be thinking about yourself all the time. You're designed to think about men. If you're a woman, you're designed as a man to think about women. There's this natural attraction. And the attraction that looks and understand the basic polarity of male and female is the polarity of men give to women and women receive from men. That's the polarity. When women receive from a man, she produces female hormones. She produces those female hormones that allow her to be happy. You cannot be happy if your hormones are out of balance. When your hormones go out of balance, you'll be stressed. This is just simple biology. I remind everybody in every show of this because we have a whole world that's thinking that, men and women are really not that different. We're all equal. We're the same. Equality is completely different from equal. And even when it comes to equality, everybody should not get paid the same amount of money. Imagine I go to work and I do nothing and I get paid the same amount of money as somebody who works really hard. Well, the person who's going to work really hard is going to be resentful and jealous and upset and unmotivated because, look, John's going to work, he does nothing, and I have to go to work and work hard to get something. So competition is very, very important. We can't just be everybody get the same, but what we can get the same is dignity. Everybody has a right to be respected. We deserve respect. We deserve to be treated in a positive way. And if we get a little American about this, we all deserve free speech. We deserve the right to having our opinion. We deserve the right to be able to express ourselves. We have the right to protect ourselves. I'm very Christian in my background. And, there's also the ethic of thou shalt not kill. It's not thou shalt not kill. It's thou shalt not murder. That's murdering. You can kill. Killing is all the way through history if you have to protect yourself. So two things. It's a right. I can protect myself and I can also speak my mind. And today, this is drifting out of the way. And part of that is the suppression of who we are. And that all starts in our relationships, because what's happening in our relationships is the inversion of masculinity and the inversion of femininity, which is what happens is as men become more feminized, which is happening today. And I'll give you the evidence of it. A man, 25-year-old man who's supposed to have peak testosterone levels, they're 20% lower than just 20 years ago. And my testosterone levels, because when you understand the dynamics of relationship and your own hormones and how your hormones are activated by the opposite sex, then, here I am at 74 years old and my testosterone is 50% higher than when I was a young man. My sex life is better than it's ever been. All these benefits happen as you get older. It should get better and better and better rather than going downhill, downhill, downhill. Now, we want more motivation in our lives. Well, for men, their motivation happens when they're in the beginning of a relationship. It occurs when they feel like I can be myself. I can express myself, free speech. I'm free to be strong, and I can protect her. I become the protector of her. Part of why there's a whole movement towards telling people you can't protect yourself is so that everybody will depend too much on the government, which is what weakens us. I'm not an expert on this, but I've heard various people talk about this, and is that, so much poverty did not exist until people started depending on the government, women getting money from the government as long as they don't have a man in their life. I was giving a class and there's a social worker there, and she said, yeah, my job was when women were getting welfare from the government was to go in and investigate her house to see if a man's living there. Because if you don't have a man, the government gives you free money. If you don't have a job, the government gives you free money. Incentives for not working. This is the worst thing for masculinity. And if things are not good for men, they're not good for women. That's the whole thing. If we want happiness in life, we have to have good for women, good for men. If one fails, if one loses, the other one loses as well. And so what we want is mutual support. We want incentives for men and women to love each other and support each other and to be authentic. So, people today, what is authentic is whatever I feel. So I can go upstairs and I can authentically desire ice cream and gain 50 pounds very easily. I can become overweight. I am an endomorph body type, which means I put on fat really easily if I eat, sugar and fat. They come together and I get a belly. And then if I get a belly, then what happens is my testosterone goes down, my female hormones go up. We have to know that there are consequences to our actions, and following your feelings, doing what you feel like is not always the right thing to do. Is you have to come from a level of responsibility and consequences, being aware that sometimes I feel like doing something, it's good for me. Sometimes I feel like doing something, it's not good for me. But just because I feel like it doesn't mean I should do it. But it's like suddenly we worship the God of feelings today, is that we have to do whatever we feel like, follow your heart, follow your bliss. No, bliss, ice cream is bliss for me. I'm not going to follow that. It would destroy my testosterone levels. There's no question about it. Once a man starts getting belly fat, his testosterone levels drop. His estrogen levels go up. And why do I keep talking about testosterone and estrogen? Because it's the biological reality of knowing what a woman is. It's this whole confusion today. It's like what a woman is. Well, how can you define how can you define a woman without having to use the word woman to define it, meaning that if you identify as woman, you're a woman. Biologically, you're not. And so what we have is a reality of what is a woman and what is a man. And biologically, from the point of view of biology, science tells us you don't go to a male prostate doctor if you're a woman. You don't go to a gynecologist if you're a man. There's a whole system of science which is geared towards understanding women's biology. And you don't think their biology affects their mind? We all live in a world where mind affects biology and biology affects mind. It's mind and body. And we can balance those two things together, which is sustained motivation in relationships, is what we're talking about today. Only when they're in balance do we have motivation. Then what occurs is you connect with your soul. Okay, your soul, whenever you're feeling happy and fulfilled, you connect with your soul. And through your soul, with practice, you connect with your spirit. Your spirit is not your mind. It's the part of you that knows what is true because it's connected to source, connected to the wisdom of the universe, the intelligence of the universe that does everything for us. Well, you get to that through your soul, but you connect with your soul by being in touch with what you feel and transforming any negative feelings into positive feelings. And when you can do that, now you're connected with your soul, which allows you to connect with your knowing, the knowing of what is true, what is good. Just because you feel something's good doesn't mean it's good. Look at the fruits of your actions. What is the consequence of following your feelings? If the consequence of following your feelings is love and health and vitality and service, and if you're a man, if the consequence of your actions is to help somebody, you're pretty much in the right ballpark. And women, if your consequence of interacting with your husband, with your boyfriend, is that he feels he helps you, when you feel helped, guess what hormone happens? Your estrogen levels go up. Now, why do we talk about testosterone and estrogen? Because the difference between men and women is for men, in order to cope with stress, his testosterone levels need to be 10 to 20 times higher than a woman's. That's what we call testosterone, the male hormone. Women have plenty of testosterone, but I have 20 times more than most women listening today. Okay, there's a huge difference. And what fuels that testosterone is I have to feel successful. Women don't have to feel as successful in order to be happy. There's so many successful women that are just not happy. In my new book, which is Men Are From Mars for Women Only, and it's the Be Happy With or Without a Man. One of the chapters is I just quote from all these successful women saying that they're not happy. They're just not happy. It's just simply making money, being successful, getting the attention of the outer world. That's not intimacy. It's intimacy. It's going in. It's having someone go in. Someone go into her feelings, someone go into her thinking, go into her desires and be motivated to fulfill those desires. That's what raises estrogen. And women need to make 10 to 20 times more estrogen to be happy. And there's two kinds of estrogen. One kind of estrogen is called estradiol. Another kind is called estrone. And when women go through menopause and then after menopause, they no longer make much of the estradiol, which makes you feminine, and they produce something called estrone, which makes you something else, which is not feminine like you used to be. It's called a weaker estrogen. And what it means, estrone, weaker estrogen, it means it doesn't have all the benefits of estradiol. Because estradiol makes you really, really happy, but estradiol also makes you really unhappy if you don't have enough. So this is what intimate relationships are about, is that they are the most powerful way for women to produce estradiol. It's not the only, because women need other hormones as well. For example, they need progesterone. Progesterone is not majorly produced by a man, but when a woman can depend on a man, and a man is motivated to be there for her, then her estradiol goes up. But when she goes through menopause, her body stops automatically making estradiol, because when a woman is cycling, always she's making estradiol. The body's just making it. But when she can no longer make babies, she no longer needs a man, then her body stops making estradiol. And she makes estrone. And estrone is a hormone, weaker estrogen because it doesn't have all these great benefits of estradiol. When you don't have estradiol, you start drying up. You get wrinkles in your face. You get dryness down south. You lose interest in sex. You don't feel like I need any help. I can do it all myself. Do it all yourself is self-sufficiency. And what happens is you no longer feel I need a man in my life. The most powerful estradiol stimulator is when you're in touch with your need for relationship, your need for a man, your need for a man to care for you. Now, certainly you need progesterone, which is I need other women, I have friends, I need work. That's also an important hormone for women. But particularly at menopause and post-menopause, if you look at all the books, the only solution you have, women, is to take estradiol. And some people do that. And there are risks that go with that. And I'm not an expert on that. I don't teach that. That's up to you and your doctor. But what I know that your doctor doesn't know is how do you produce estradiol for the rest of your life? This is the power. This is how, and the estradiol motivates you to feel the need for a man's love and support. Once you go to menopause, or you've been burned in relationships, you go right into menopause, you become a woman who doesn't need men, then you'll have all these symptoms of menopause, of more of estrone, which says, I don't need anybody. One beautiful woman, just big-hearted woman. Okay, she was in my class, and she shared at 2 years old. She clearly remembered when her father left, and she said, then I'm going to do it myself. I'm not going to depend on anybody my whole life. And she has a good life, but she realized that, that she wanted to now open her heart and feel love in a new way, which is allowing herself to let somebody help her and then experience the appreciation that you feel. Now, she's a wonderful woman, but one of the noticeable things is that her face was massively wrinkled. Whenever you see a woman with face was massively wrinkled, she's been producing estrone for a long time. She's not making enough estradiol. But all these symptoms, weaker, 90% of the people who have osteoporosis, weak bones, are women. Once you go through menopause, you don't have estradiol, you will have weak bones. That's how it affects women. That's not how it affects men. Don't have a lot of estradiol, so we don't, it's not a need that we have and so forth. We're very, very different. We can look at all these different sicknesses and diseases that men have, that women have. Of course, PMS. What's PMS? This is a real problem for women, which is 5 days before their period. If they're not making enough progesterone, then what happens is they have huge stress. Okay, she's really her brain blood flow doesn't go to the prefrontal cortex of her brain where she can look logically at her life. She becomes obsessed with, taken over by, hijacked by negative thinking, hates herself, doesn't feel good enough, never feels loved. She feels alone in the world, has no mission or purpose. Why live? This is when women are suicidal, or at least feel suicidal. Ironically, men commit more suicide, but women report suicidal feelings 4 times more than men. Men commit suicide 8 times more. Because when men feel suicidal, they have more testosterone. They'll actually do it. Whereas women are not good at doing it. They'll chicken out. But talking about it actually is the remedy for her to produce more healthy hormones, to feel that she's not alone. So motivation. Where do women lose motivation? If we look at the 4 R's, first they resist and they start not liking situations. They start being annoyed by their partner. They start being a little picky in their mind. Well, I don't like that. I don't like that. But they want to be positive. So in staying positive, they move into the next stage. Because in their mind, they think, if I want to get more from my partner, then I need to give more. And when you give more, so suddenly they're all motivated to overgive. So they're giving and giving and giving as a neurosis. Okay, so when women give more than they're getting, it's a neurosis. It's the pathology of when a woman has a tendency to not get what she needs in her mind. It's often called codependence. She makes her partner's needs more important than her own. So she's highly motivated to give. But what happens as she keeps giving, she thinks that he's going to give more back. Because on Venus, with a woman and another woman, if you want more from a woman, you give her something, and then she'll give you something back. It's like always this reciprocity thing goes. It's like if everybody and I would go to a party, she says, well, we have to bring something. You can't take something from someone unless you first give something. It's a very sweet idea. It's Venus. The way it shows up most, where I noticed it, is that giving when men, when men and women are in relationship, or when women are in a relationship, two women friends, and let's say I'm a woman, and women have this need to talk and share. This is how they experience intimacy. If I share what's inside of me, then and you listen, then we're more intimate. And women have a greater need to feel that intimacy on an emotional level. Men have a greater need to feel that intimacy on a physical level. That's why men are thinking about sex. Why men do more sex porn and all that stuff. Is that's how men experience intimacy. Women experience emotional intimacy, which is come inside of me emotionally. And ironically, if she does feel safe and she can share herself with a man, come inside of me emotionally, that then becomes the foundation of the hormones that then say, hey, come inside of me physically. When women say, hey, come inside of me physically as a way to get you to love me, he won't love you more. Whenever you give more to a man to get what you want, you will get less from a man. That's just the rule. You demotivate a man. And already, we'll get to men in a moment, men lose motivation anyway. All the motivation men feel in the beginning is based on the fantasy that he's going to get sex and that there's a physical chemistry and that because of sex, well, he's not always conscious of that, he'll find a woman who will love him. Because we all need to be loved and we're all motivated to get love, but we just get confused in how to do that. For example, when I'm talking about women being motivated to overgive, they're doing it to get love. Men, when they're wanting to have sex, they're not always aware of it, but what their reason they're wanting to have sex, it feels good. Anything that feels good raises estrogen. And when he's in touch with estrogen, that's when he can actually feel his need for love. Then he can be motivated from his need for love, which is healthy for him. If I need my wife's love, what I have to do is certain things in order to get that love. Motivation for men comes by having a goal. And it's only as men mature more that they realize their goal in life is to be loved by a woman. Prior to that is to have sex. And prior to that is I have to have a job and be presentable in order to get sex, which are all good things. It's all stages of a growing selflessness. But once you're in a committed relationship with a woman, you're having sex with her. After sex, your body makes 5 times more prolactin than if you had sex with a woman that you're not committed to. I mean, this is so amazing. This is one of the ideas that's not even in Men Are From Mars. What I've done now in my work is I found the science to verify every idea I put in Men Are From Mars. It's all there. It's all there. It's the truth. People ask me, have you changed your ideas at all since you wrote that book? Nope, I've expanded them. I have new solutions. But more importantly, I've written books which help us to adapt to the changes in the world. And Men Are From Mars, if women are more anchored to their female side and men are more anchored to their male side because society cultures us to be that way, to be our authentic selves. There's always was the debate in the past. We're so confused now we don't even have the debate, but is the difference between men and women biological, which means nature, or is it nurture? It's both. We can be nurtured to not be ourselves. Society can tell us men are bad, and then we weaken our masculinity. Society can tell women that femininity is weakness, and therefore you need to be strong like a man. And then suddenly she disconnects with her authenticity. She's no longer in harmony with her nature. When you have nature and biology and you respect biology, you accept what is. And part of all suffering and unhappiness is just not accepting what is. Recently, I had to get a loan. And when I was getting this loan based on my house, I had to take the deed out of a trust so I could get a loan and then put it back into the trust. And then what the county does, or what the state of California does, is they count that as a sale, and they now I pay 50% more property tax. It's shocking. I already pay, a lot of property tax. Now I'm paying $34,000 a year in property tax. I just go, holy crazy, this is crazy. But that's what it is. I can't change it. And see, what's good about men is that men, when they recognize, well, I can't change it, it's a blow, it's a stomach punch, no doubt about it. It's a stomach punch. It's a problem. I'll solve the problem. There's nothing I can do about that. So I accept it. It just takes me a few days to accept it, and it becomes a thing of the past. There's nothing I can do about it now. This is one of the great benefits of being a man, is that we actually have a biology that helps us to just let go of things. Women don't have that biology. You can look, again, studies show that when women are stressed, they ruminate. So if my wife, you know, felt responsible to pay for those taxes, and to a certain extent she does, and she finds out about it, she's going to go over it and over it and over it and over it. She'll be shopping and think, oh, now we don't have enough money. Oh, now we have to pay this. Oh, why do we have to pay this? And she'll just go over it and over it and over. This is what women's brains do when they're stressed. When men's brains are stressed, we immediately disconnect from emotions and we want to solve the problem. And part of solving every problem, if a man is grounded in his masculinity, is this a problem that can be solved? Is it something I can do something about? And if there's nothing I can do about it, let it go. That's what it is. I will adjust. I will create my life. I've always created my life. I have the power to do it. See how amazing it is to be a man when you're anchored in your masculinity, which is why women used to love men. Because a man in your life means you don't have another woman who's complaining about life. You got one person who's steady and grounded, who's optimistic, who's present, who wants to solve things. I mean, recently, at this other book I'm now editing that I've written is called I'm not focusing on the title. Oh, Why Men Fall in Love and Stay in Love. Why Men Fall in Love and Stay in Love. And it has a lot to do with motivation in that book too. And the bottom line, you just have to, it's just a sentence that came out. Women, if you make a man your hero, he will die for you. That's it. You want a man to die for you. Just make him your hero. This is throughout all time. Women figured this out. Women had wisdom. It's built into their biology. If you just need a man's help, he will help you. When you stop needing a man's help and you start producing estrone, which is I can do it all myself, you have no sex drive, you get wrinkles, you get old, your bones break, you're depressed, all those things happen. It's inevitable. What you have to do is need a man's help. All you have to do. And even after menopause, even though your body is not saying that I need help, you remember all the ways, or you just read my book and it will tell you all the things a man can do for you that will produce estradiol. And then you'll start producing estradiol, but it's not automatic. Okay. So like when you're cycling automatically, 5 days before ovulation, for example, your need for estradiol doubles. That's why it's the best time for romance. It's the best time for sex, but it's also the worst time. It's the best of times and the worst of times. Why? Because that's when a woman becomes aware that she could, what subconsciously, the body is preparing everything to get pregnant every cycle. And so the body is telling your mind, you need to have a man in your life. So men are going to be more attractive. You're going to need a house. You're going to need food. You're going to need protection. You need someone who's there for you. You need somebody who's committed to you, who's going to be with you and help you raise this child and protect you while you're raising the child. All this is subconscious. And it all goes along with this doubling of estrogen. So if you don't have that support in your life, you'll look for it. And if it's not there, you'll be unhappy because you don't have it. This is just why are we unhappy? We think, oh, I'm unhappy because this didn't happen or this didn't happen. No, these are biological realities. The most important realities is to support the hormones of a woman being able to make a baby. And this other thing is the hormones that allow a man to help a woman make a baby. And this means high testosterone, high drive. And he has to have that testosterone in order for a woman's estrogen levels to go high, enough to make a baby. So this is like, we just see how culture created a situation where it supported men, it rewarded men, built statues to men. If you would give your life for women, if you would do the dirty jobs, if you would do the difficult jobs, if you would do the dangerous jobs, and we're motivated to do it. We have no problem doing it as long as you build a statue for us, as long as you appreciate us, as long as you want to have sex with us, as long as you want to marry us, as long as you want to make a baby with us. Because everything about nature is it has to reproduce. It needs food. And women tend to be more aware of the need for food. Men tend to be more aware of the need to procreate. It's the two basic motivations of life is give me food and give me sex. Give me a baby. Because then what happens? See, it's all part of a spiritual evolution and development. because when you have sex with someone you love, you make 5 times more prolactin. And what that does allows you to bond with your partner. So much of what's going on today on the internet is this quote theory of attachment theory, which is fun. It's like, but unfortunately, if a man has avoidant attachment symptoms, a woman goes, oh, that's a pathology, that's his childhood wounding, and I shouldn't be involved with him. As opposed to a certain extent, has a good idea, is it recognize that men, all men have avoidant attachment pattern, okay? This is just masculinity. This is just testosterone. What that means, if you put it in attachment theory, it means that a man will want to get into you. He's going to do everything to have sex with you. He's going to be romantic. He's going to be attentive. His dopamine is off the chart. His motivation is great. And then once he gets in there, he's out and he pulls away. All those romantic feelings go away. And yes, it can be a pathology. But in the sense of it can be too much. Okay, it can be too intense. And that would be due to a childhood issue where he wasn't able to make his mother happy. His mother just wasn't happy. So he'll either become that, avoid it, or he goes further out of balance. And this really is a pathology, is when a man has what they often define as anxious attachment. Anxious attachment is where he wants to control her. He gets close to her and becomes insecure and now has to control her so she'll stay close to him. These are your violent men. These are your men that they're so romantic in the beginning, it seems, for some, but then they just completely lose interest, or they become really romantic in the beginning and then they start controlling you and that whatever. That's further out of balance. So what I do is just explain it simply in terms of biology. The biology is that if a woman has avoidant attachment, that's a wound from her childhood. But all women have various degrees of anxious attachment, which means that she's not going to jump into bed with you right away. She's going to be hesitant to open up because she's smart. You don't want to open up to just anybody. You don't want to have sex with some guy who's not committed to you. You want someone who'll be there for you. Your biology will go to the best levels if you have that commitment. You actually produce something called bonding, which frees you from all of these attachment reactions and so forth. But what happens is if she doesn't get enough commitment from a man, she will have anxious attachment. It's a biological thing, which means that she'll have sex, but she doesn't make prolactin, which bonds her to her partner, which gives her a sense of security. When he pulls away, which is always going to be happening to some degree, when a man connects with a woman, he has to pull away. When he connects with her, his estrogen levels go up. It will knock down his testosterone. He needs to go to his cave. He needs to pull away. He needs his time. That's all explained in my book, Men Are From Mars. Go to the chapter on the rubber band theory. And so when he pulls away, if you go after him, he'll keep pulling away forever. This is how some married couples are. The guy has sex with his wife a few years, and now suddenly he's in his cave most of the time, and she's trying to get into the cave, and he keeps running away from her. He can't feel his motivation to her because she doesn't create the space of she's over here happy, not being needy, not being demanding, and he's over in his cave doing his thing. What will happen is his testosterone will go really high, and then to find balance, he'll want to connect with her because connecting with her allows his estrogen levels to go up. Now he's inside of her. His estrogen's up, his testosterone's up, and then he gets to experience balanced hormones. Balanced hormones is it's orgasm. It's being in love. It's feeling in love rather than knowing you love your partner. So many men love their wives, but they're not feeling in love with their wives. Feeling in love is that ecstatic state. And it only happens when his mirror neurons, these are these neurons in the brain that allow you to feel what somebody else feels. When he has sex with a woman, that's when, for a man, his mirror neurons open wide. Most of the time, they're not even open. When his mirror neurons open wide, that's when he can feel what she feels the most. And if, while having sex, she feels love for him, then he will let that love in. And when he lets that love in, then he will produce prolactin. He will bond with her. His tendency to have the avoidance style becomes more moderate. He wants to get close, then he needs time away, then he needs to get close. That's always going to be the case. And for women, they're going to always have a tendency to have anxious attachment, which is they're going to not always be in the mood to have sex like a man is. But when he raises her estrogen up, then she starts to open up. This is biology. Women do not want to have sex until their estrogen levels go up. unless there's always a yes, but for the dysfunctional woman. The dysfunctional woman wants to have sex just as a way to please a man. She has so much anxiety, fear of not being loved, that her body will react by saying, what can I do to please him? And so she'll suddenly start feeling, I want to have sex with him. But that's a very different kind of sex than when her estrogen levels go very high. This is how she's biologically designed to do. When their estrogen levels go really high, because she feels safe and supported. It can be the case when a woman feels powerless and in danger that her estrogen levels will also go really high, because dopamine increases women's estrogen. And so if women feel it's like a dangerous man, a dysfunctional man, she can suddenly be attracted to him. This is the weirdest thing, because if a man is dangerous, her estrogen will go high. Her brain releases another chemical called luteinizing hormone that produces testosterone and causes her to want to desire to have sex with him. So, or want to please him, or want to surrender to him, or want to do whatever he says so that she will survive. Because the danger can produce high estrogen, but also the dopamine that gets produced by anticipating getting what you need is the positive side. So I can be man or woman either. If you feel I'm successful in getting what I want, what I need, dopamine will go up and it motivates you. So the opportunity for success motivates us. That's the dopamine brain chemical. But also danger motivates us. Danger is, oh my God, something bad's going to happen. I got to run out of here. Let me get out of here. So that's the dysfunctional version of dopamine. But it still gives you a hit of excitement and pleasure. And my joke recently is that when my wife's out of town, when I'm not having a lot of sex, regular sex, not like I'm having lots, okay, on weekends maybe, days off on a weekend getaway, but I'm having regular sex. And it's wonderful and it's fantastic. But when she's gone, then at night, instead of having sex, I want ice cream. And you'll see a lot of older men. I think this came into my awareness. I'm not sure it's all men. They're certainly not all men. But I know that Biden clearly wasn't having any sex, but always eating ice cream. I'll have to do this study. I'm going to start watching who goes to the ice cream shop besides little kids. It'll be older people in my suggestion here. Eating lots of ice cream, because you want to get that dopamine hit that you're used to having when you have sex. There's nothing better, than that. Because see what it is, it's combining a high dopamine level at that moment with a lot of love and safety and commitment. There's just nothing more wonderful in that. And it's dopamine always that motivates us. So healthy motivation for women to want to have sex is when a man can help her estrogen levels go to higher levels. Now, what's so interesting, older women always eating ice cream too. Okay, expanding my awareness. Thank you, Lori. I have to say, all of these moving targets on we're trying something new today, and I'm actually very distracted by the sign up for John Gray's free course at marsvenus.com. We don't have to have as much of that as we're doing. All these moving targets. I think it's to keep your attention here, which is colors and moving things. It seems like I move enough, but whatever. Do sign up for John Gray's free course at marsvenus.com. And hey, be sure to share this with other people. This is good comedy. This is good information. This is wonderful. This creates discussions. Please share this with other people. And write your comments out. If you hate me, write that too. I'm always curious. I like to see, what that happens. One of my most popular videos is my TED Talk. If you go John Gray, Mars Brain, Venus Brain, my TED Talk. And if you go there, for the first year, I don't know, it was like there was this thing at certain universities where kids would get extra credit for saying bad things about me. Because at the beginning of the year, there'd just be a big rush of all these negative comments because they hate me in the universities. This is the truth. The universities are so misleading. They're trying to make everybody the same. And of course, what is the agenda behind that? Is when you don't have women depending on men, women depend on the government. And when women depend on the government, men are weakened. What empowers men, what gives men a motivation is when women depend on us. If a woman doesn't depend on a man, he's just left thinking about himself. And when thinking about himself, he either has to become evil and corrupt, become inverted, and he can be motivated more for himself. If he's not evil and inverted, motivated just for himself, then he's lost. He feels, and so these guys, good parents and so forth, but their testosterone is just so low, they don't know what to do. The masculinity is bad. I want sex with a girl. That's bad. There's nothing wrong with wanting sex with a girl. The problem is when you go and you behave in a disrespectful way with her in order to have sex with her. But there's a guilt and there's a shame when men are more in touch with their female side. They care more about women. Then because of our society, they feel guilty wanting to have sex with her. And so then they feel shy and they don't approach her. This is the weirdest thing. And then you get guys who are not more in touch with good values. They don't care that much about women. They're your aggressive guys. They're the guys who go out there and ask women for a date, push her this way, that way. And she has low self-esteem. So she goes into fear and goes into, yes, I'll do whatever you want. What we've done is we've weakened women's self-esteem by telling them being feminine is bad, being weak, being powerless, no good. So you need to be like a man. Now we have feminism. You can be a man. You can do it all. And you're never happy. And you're never happy. And you won't be happy. And the more you go to your male side, the less a man is going to be interested in you. Because maybe in the beginning, because you put out sexually, you dress in a sexy way, it's a very temporary reality. He will feel, oh, she wants to have sex with me. And to any insecure man, he'll then go, oh, I'll go after that, because he doesn't have the confidence. You have to have a lot of confidence to go after a woman who's not just saying, I'll have sex with you right away. So, and those are the men you want, who are not demanding sex right away, but wanting it. Nothing wrong with wanting it, but setting your boundary until your body is ready for it. In a sense, he has to earn his way in. And I'll say this, and the feminists hate me for it, but a man will not buy the cow if the milk's for free. It's as simple as that. You got to take care of that cow. You got to feed that cow. You got to protect that cow. You got to love that cow. And then the cow will give you milk. And these are just the realities. And they hate that. We're in the beginning, it was like, we can be like men, so we can go out and have sex. Then the feminists started wisening up and go, well, we're never going to get married and get his money if we play that game. So there's a lot of contrast there. There's different ways, because we can choose to go out of balance. The easiest thing in the world is to go out of balance. The easiest thing for a woman is to become masculine. Let me give you an example of that. If a woman doesn't feel safe that I can ask for and get help, if a woman doesn't feel somebody wants to help me and they're not going to give to me, her stress will go up. Her estrogen goes down. Estrogen goes up when she anticipates I deserve and I can get what I need. My life is filled with grace. There's abundance of support around me. When you feel that, your estrogen's very high. And that was the case with my mother. My mother was highly spiritual, also had 7 children. Her dreams were fulfilled. She had all this stuff figured out. And so I was fortunate to grow up with a mother who was happy. And therefore, I don't have these feelings that most men have, of fears of putting yourself out there, because as a little boy, I knew I made my mother happy. I made her happier. She wasn't depending on me for happiness, for her happiness. When women are low self-esteem, then when they have children, they hurt those children by depending on the child to make her happy, rather than the child can make her happier. We love our children, but we're not dependent on our children to be happy. That's the healthy thing. Same thing with her husband. My husband can help me, but I'm dependent on me to be happy. That's having self-esteem. Then you start depending on a man to make you happier. And that's where you're ready for real intimacy and real relationship, and you can have successful relationship. Now, not all of it, life's never perfect. So you're not going to be able to have full self-esteem when you get into a relationship. You'll take things personally. You'll be hurt by things. And just so you know, whenever you're feeling hurt, you're about 6 years old. It's the worst thing in the world. It's what psychology teaches. It's the only way you can get more from a man, according to psychology, is to say to him, when you do this, I feel hurt. When you say to a man that he hurts you, you completely slam down his testosterone. And without testosterone, he has no motivation. Testosterone gives him the energy. You see, when I fell in love with my wife, when any man falls in love with their partner, when he's turned on to her, you can measure a man's arousal comes from first having high testosterone. And then his testosterone starts coming down a bit as his estrogen goes up. And that's called an erection. A man has to start out with testosterone and then go to his female side. So I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling good about myself, but I'm not feeling something's missing. Oh, she's what's missing. I want to go into her. So as he's connecting with her, with the anticipation of connecting with her, and you connect with a woman not just by putting it in, you connect with her by making her happy, by doing things for her, by interacting with her, by creating a smile in her. Then as he interacts with her, his testosterone does come down a bit and his estrogen levels go up. And that's the requirement for a man to be turned on to a woman. And then what happens when he's turned on to a woman is something changes in his brain and he begins to experience mirror neurons opening up. Now, mirror neurons opening up are what allows him to be more motivated for her because he feels her love more. When you appreciate a man, his testosterone goes up and his motivation increases. When his testosterone is down, he's either angry or he's depressed. Just to know this, when testosterone is down, there's no such thing as a man who's angry who has healthy testosterone. Men become angry when their testosterone is going down and their estrogen is going up. Men just having low testosterone and low estrogen, they'll just be depressed. But then what happens is if he has somewhat testosterone and or even high testosterone, but he feels insecure, he doesn't have self-esteem, then what will happen is his estrogen levels will start to rise if he doesn't get what he wants. You see, he becomes like a needy child. If I don't get what I want, my estrogen levels are rising and my testosterone levels are going down. And that's what happens when a man is angry. What men used to be taught is they were ashamed for being angry. Anger was seen as low-level consciousness. No woman wants an angry man. And still today, no woman wants an angry man, except women with low self-esteem. And that would be a lot of it. Yeah, I was once teaching a class in one of the countries in South America. And I'm talking about how men need to raise women's estrogen and be romantic and do nice things for her and listen to her feelings and be affectionate and supportive. And somebody stood up on the microphone, and there were a good 500 people there. And this person stood on the microphone and he says, John, these are all the things that kill romance. We know that macho is what makes a woman turned on. You've got to slap her around and say bad things about her, and then she'll be turned on. Now, this is what was said for the 500 people. Now, I'm expecting everybody just to get all upset, and everybody's going, yep. Now, let's say it's just the people that were at my class. All I can say is that's my experience, but that's like S&M. Okay, this is basically S&M culture. You got to slap a woman around to lower her self-esteem, and then she feels anxious and danger because she's not worthy, and that increases her sexual desire. And this is a big subworld of the world, which is basically S&M, where you have to slap a woman around, or the reverse of that is slapping a man around, make him dominant, submission, dominant. This is all just aberrations of lack of intimacy. Intimacy is sharing. Intimacy is polarity. And yet that becomes a reverse polarity. And anytime you invert anything, you will always have intensity. And intensity, going out of balance, disconnecting from what is natural, is always going to produce dopamine. Anytime you do anything that's bad, you'll produce dopamine. This is just built into your body. And ironically, then you're more dopamine, you're more addicted to doing bad things. Anything that you do sexually that you wouldn't want your mother to know about is going to produce more dopamine. So we have aberrations of sexuality. We have things that are humiliating, things that are, I don't even want to talk about them, but you go online, you just see it all the time as chosen humiliation. For it will all create. Yes, that doesn't turn me on. Thank you, Carrie. You have healthy hormone balance. But danger produces dopamine. But if a woman has a relationship with a man and there's danger, it will produce dopamine. But because she feels he can support her, then her estrogen levels go very, very high along with her testosterone, and she gets very turned on. So a part of what you can do to create estradiol, remember I talked about estradiol, is to create a sense of danger at the same time feeling safe. And what would that danger be? It would be vulnerable with a man. When you're vulnerable with a man, you create more testosterone in him, and you create more estrogen in you, and you create more dopamine. So part of one of our techniques that I talk about is Venus talks. A Venus talk is where you come home to your spouse, your partner, and you share with him things that you would not share with anybody else, things that you'd be embarrassed to share with anybody else, things that are your secrets, things that you feel inside that doesn't make you look so pretty, doesn't make you seem so selfless and loving and good. Everyone wants to look good. They put on makeup. I mean, women are the masters of disguise. They're putting on makeup all the time because they have greater insecurity, and that's okay. Helps to build your confidence and so forth, makes you prettier and you feel good about yourself. That's all right. That's your choice. But what you want to do is take off your makeup when you come home to your husband and see that he loves you. But in a sense, emotionally, come home and share the feelings that you had during your day that you didn't share with other people, but you share it with him and ask him just to listen, because all he has to do is listen while you share this with him, and he hears you, and you do this for no more than 10 minutes, and you end up feeling really good afterwards, and you thank him, and he says nothing, and you go into another room so he doesn't have a tendency to want to explain to you that you're making a big deal out of this, or don't worry about this, or the other day, you remember you said this. He'll try to take you away from those negative emotions. What you want is to demonstrate in front of him and to use him to be able to express negative emotions in a context where you're not trying to change anybody and you're not looking for help other than intimacy, someone to hear what's going on inside of you. And then you produce prolactin, the bonding hormone, and you get out of this whole attachment thing where you have anxiety and you have avoidance and you have neediness and all that. That all goes away when you have commitment and you're able to create polarity. So commitment produces the prolactin to bond with your partner, and then you need to create intimacy, which creates polarity, where she shares insecurities, frustrations, anger at somebody, disappointments, whatever it might be, because life is stressful. And to the extent that you're happy, you will also be unhappy. Everything is a polarity in life. We have a left brain and a right brain. The left prefrontal cortex is optimistic. The right is pessimistic. We're designed to be pessimistic, and we're designed to be optimistic, and we're designed in every situation to be able to look at the bad side, and then you will automatically go to the good side. The problem is people who focus on the good, they become consumed by, overtaken by, hijacked by the bad. This is people who pretend to be happy all the time. Then you find they're taking antidepressants and anxiety problems because they're always focusing on the positive. You have to be just authentic. There's always good, there's always bad. This is hell and earth at the same time. And so let the hell be internal and then transform it into heaven. It's all within us. If you don't find that, if you can't identify what's called your shadow side, your trigger side, if you can't identify that within yourself and transform it within yourself, then you just try to be positive, the outer world will become hell. And because you're going to have to face those feelings. They're all inside of us. And the more positive you want to be, the more negative is going to come out of you. And so to avoid negative coming out of us, we numb ourselves down. We just, I'm not going to be that optimistic. I'm not going to believe in loving again. I'm not going to open my heart again. For a man, it would be, I'm not going to try again. She's never happy. I'm going to not bother anymore. And he loses his motivation because he doesn't know how to process his feelings as well. And the more enlightened men are, and are more out of balance men are, which is, it could be either one, which means he has more female hormones. He will have emotional reactions like women, and he needs to process them. He needs to process them without speaking them out loud. And that's what men are not being taught how to do. Women need to process them by speaking out loud. And if they don't have someone to speak out loud to, then they can journal it as well. And they have enough consciousness to sort of distance themselves from it. So you have to take these feelings and put them out over here. And women need more of that because they don't have as much testosterone as men. Testosterone allows you to detach, to disconnect from emotions. And when you can be detached and connect to your emotions, once again, you have the polarity of what it means to balance the masculine and feminine inside of you. But because, to be balanced, it means my masculine side is much higher than my female side. It doesn't knock down my masculine side. And that takes a lot of self-esteem. It takes a lot of maturity. Younger men can't have that. Younger women can't have that. It takes time to do that. And what is the procedure to do it? Well, we'll talk about that in our talk tomorrow or next week. I'll go into all the stages of life, which describe the different hormonal states that you can get to. But simply put, I'll just not do the whole thing right now, but give you a little taste of it. It's that it's what life used to be. I'm growing up. I'm a teenager. I'm educating myself. I'm learning things. I learn what I'm good at, learn what I'm not good at, feel good about myself about certain things. Don't have to be everything. Girls learn to be feminine. They have girlfriends. They interact. They do quote things that make female hormones. Okay, so you're learning how to be feminine. You're learning how to be masculine. Then once you have that, now you go to the other side. Women start learning how to be more self-sufficient. Men learn to be more self-sufficient rather than we separate from our parents. That's an individuation that happens in our teenage years. Now we're sort of more ourselves. And hormonally, boys suddenly have 20 times more testosterone and girls are having their period and their cycle starts and everything like that. These are whole different shifts of life where she can begin to explore herself, know herself, her abilities, her limits, what she likes, what she doesn't like. Then you get to 21 to 28, and there's this development of the prefrontal cortex that starts where you start to be able to not take things so personally. You start to know who you are. You start to experiment with who you are to be happy and fulfilled without depending on anybody. It's a time of self-sufficiency. And then you get to around 28, 29. Now you're ready for a relationship. Ideally, we can jump around all the time, but basically your brain is now capable of not taking things personally, so you don't get your feelings hurt. Now you're in a relationship with someone of the opposite sex. And in the opposite sex, you've come back to being feminine. You've learned to be self-reliant, reasonable. Now you're ready to connect with being with your male side and using your male side. And in a relationship with a man, that means learning how to still be vulnerable and depend on a man for love and support. And for a man, it means for him to be masculine, but also connect to his female side. So we connect in different ways, but the biology is so much fun is that once you're in a committed relationship and you're having sex with her, you're now inside of her. So you're no longer thinking for yourself as you're a man. And when a man's inside of you, you don't have to always go to your male side to feel balanced. You have a man to help balance you. You can be there. You can go more deeply into being feminine, and a man can go more deeply into being masculine. And then the next, which in being more feminine means to be happier, more fulfilled, more loving, and have all the virtues of femininity, of love and joy and happiness and grace and all those kinds of things. So this is the possibility through connecting with the opposite sex. Then you have a child. Now, when you have a child, it was me inside of her that helped create that child. Each stage, I'm no longer about me anymore. Once I'm having sex with her and bonded with her, it's more about her than just me. And then once she makes the baby, now I'm out there as this baby. All of this stuff helps me stop thinking about me all the time. Me, me, me. It starts becoming love, unconditional love. And then once you have children and you help your children grow up, you start thinking about your society and your community, and you serve your community. And all it becomes about serving the world, and then be realizing that the world is all pieces of God, and now you're serving God all the time. And God, who served you to make you into this baby, you're now serving God. We always say, God, why do you create the world this way? God says, I created you so you would change the world through, that's our job, make this world a better place. If it was all just perfect, there'd be no growth. That's our journey here, is to grow in our ability to love, grow in our ability to create a better world, and to realize that right now, this is this amazing time of tremendous consciousness and light coming into the world. And that light, what does it do? What is the light of consciousness and divine energy? What does it do? It recognizes evil. See, with no light, evil takes over, but the light shows the darkness, okay? It takes away the darkness. But you can't take away the darkness until you become aware of the darkness, and that's what light does. Whenever this is part in the Christian religion, one of the big things there is to repent. To repent means I recognize what I did is wrong. How do you recognize what I did is wrong? Because you're connecting with that consciousness that knows what is right. So knowing what is wrong, and how do you know what is wrong when you're not connected to that consciousness? You suffer. Anytime you're suffering, regardless of what you think, oh, these people are making me wrong. It's because of these people I suffer. It's because of those people. No, it's not them. It's you. You're not connected to your source. And when you disconnect from your source, you will suffer. And you keep repeating things over and over until finally you get, this is what Buddha called the second stage of enlightenment, which is you realize that your suffering is that you're causing it. You cause all your suffering. And then once you realize you cause your suffering, then you repent. You realize, oh, I made a mistake. I want to change. Now that's with the third stage of enlightenment, which is where you commit yourself to change. That would be to repent. I forgive you, but you can actually let go of guilt and shame, which will result when you don't repent or when you feel bad, but you don't now go to the next stage, which is I commit myself to doing differently. You're not going to be perfect at it, but that commitment is connecting to the life force that flows through you and gives you purpose and meaning in your life. So now I'm committed to moving forward. That's how you heal things. You repent, and part of repentance is I made a mistake, so you're connecting with God in that way, and now you're letting God come through you as you feel your desire to be better, your desire to do good. And Buddhism, that would be you first recognize you're causing your suffering, then you learn to release your suffering. You release suffering by repenting and committing to doing better, and you feel good. I've been born again. I'm going to go. And then you get the fourth stage of suffering, of enlightenment, where now you can avoid suffering. Okay, this is where you've given up your addictions to doing stupid things and you just avoid it. It doesn't happen anymore for you. And I would add a few more things to it, which is then what you do is you bring into your life people who need your help to free them from suffering. And then that would be your fifth level of enlightenment. And some cultures, they'll call that avatars, they'll call that bodhisattvas or whatever, that your purpose is no longer about just relieving you of suffering, but it's to feel the suffering of others and help them move through it, because you can't speak their language or help them if you can't fully feel what they feel, and then you help them through it. And so we have a whole journey of life, and you put that in the context of having children. That's your children. They will suffer all of your suffering and you'll help them through it. You'll be out there. You'll see it in them, and you'll feel their pain so much because it's the pain that you learn to go beyond. Now your love and your unconditional love for them helps to transform them, and your life is about serving your legacy. It's about serving, not just about serving your wife anymore. It's serving your children, and then it serves your grandchildren. And this is what creates richness in life. It will not happen for all of you people who don't have children. This is why you have to have children. The world needs more children. Don't we see it? The inversion of truth was that, oh, there's too many people. There's not too many people. We're running out of people. All these wonderful, most advanced countries are running out of people because they've destroyed their economies. It's too expensive to have children. So they don't have a lot of children. The population is going down, down, down. We don't want this to happen. We need to have more children. And for our own personal development, we need to, and if we don't have children, we can always adopt children. But best, ideal, of course, is to have your own children. Why? Because your seed goes into her makes the baby, that baby becomes a part of you out there. But the good thing about grace of God is that if you can't have children, whatever, you can still bond with those children. Because with women, when they have children, whether they're their own children or not, their mirror neurons will open up to the highest level. And with that highest level, they will bond. And now suddenly they're not just thinking about me, they're thinking about somebody else. And then you're thinking about their somebody else. And you have your grandchildren. What an amazing possibility we have in life. Anyway, what a joy to share this with you. We'll talk more about these stages next week.
That was fantastic. We'll do hormonal phases next week.
Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Have a great day.
Thank you for watching the Shades of Grey podcast with Dr. John Gray, best-selling author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And follow Dr. Gray on all social media platforms for more timeless relationship wisdom. For free tools to create deeper love and better communication, visit marsvenus.com and take Dr. Gray's free course, How to Get Everything You Want in Relationships. And don't miss next week's episode of the Shades of Grey podcast, where understanding brings us closer together.